Aztlan is the legendary ancestral home of the Aztec peoples. Azteca is the Nahuatl word for people from Aztlan. The place Aztlan is mentioned in several ethnohistorical sources dating from the colonial period, and each of them give different lists of the different tribal groups who participated in the migration from Aztlan to central Mexico. But the Mexica who went on to found Mexico-Tenochtitlan are mentioned in all of the accounts. Historians have speculated about the possible location of Aztlan and tend to place it either in northwestern Mexico or the southwest U.S., although there are significant doubts about whether the place is purely mythical or represents a historical reality. Legend. Nahuatl legends relate that 7 tribes lived in Chico-Motoc, or the place of the 7 caves. Each cave represented a different Nahua group: the Xochimilca, Tecahuica, Aguila, Tlaxcalteca, Tepaneca, Chalca, and Mexica. Because of the common linguistic origin, those groups are called collectively Nahuatlaca. These tribes subsequently left the caves and settled near Aztlan. The various descriptions of Aztlan apparently contradict each other. While some legends describe Aztlan as a paradise, the Codex Orban says that the Aztecs were subject to a tyrannical elite called the Azteca Chico-Motztoca. Guided by the priests, the Aztec fled, and on the road, their god Huitzilopochtli forbade them to call themselves Azteca, telling them that they should be known as Mexica. Ironically, scholars of the 19th century, in particular Alexander von Humboldt and William H. Prescott, would name them Aztec. Humboldt's suggestion was widely adopted in the 19th century as a way to avoid confusion between modern Mexicans and the pre-Hispanic civilization. Aztlan plays a slightly less important role in Aztec legendary histories than the migration to Tenochtitlan itself. Some say that the southward migration began on May 24, 1064 CE, after the Crab Nebula events from May to July 1054. Each of the 7 groups is credited with founding a different major city-state in central Mexico. The newest translation of the Anual de Tlatelolco gives the only date known related to the exit from Aztlan, day sign 4 Cuatli of the year 1 Tecpatial, or 1064 to 1065, and correlated to January 4, 1065. 2 city-states reputedly had an Aztec foundation: Tepaneca, now Azcapotzalco, a delegación of the Mexican Federal District minus Mexico City; Matlaitzinca, who spoke the Otomian language. These city-states formed during the late post-classic period of Mesoamerican chronology. Cristobal del Castillo mentions in his book Fragmentos de la Obra General sobre Historia de los Mexicanos that the lake around the Aztlan island was called Metzliapan, or Lake of the Moon. Quote, according to Aztec legends, the Mexica tribe emigrated last. When they arrived at the new homeland, the present-day Valley of Mexico, all available land had been taken, and they were forced to squat on the edge of Lake Texcoco. Place is postulated as Aztlan. While Aztlan has many trappings of myth, similar to Tamahuanchan, Chico-Motochtolin, and Cibola, archaeologists have nonetheless attempted to identify geographic place of origin for the Mexica. Friar Diego Duran, who chronicled the history of the Aztecs, wrote of Aztec Emperor Moctezuma I's attempt to recover the history of the Mexica by congregating warriors and wise men on an expedition to locate Aztlan. According to Duran, the expedition was successful in finding a place that offered characteristics unique to Aztlan. However, his accounts were written shortly after the conquest of Tenochtitlan and before an accurate mapping of the American continent was made. Therefore, he was unable to provide a precise location. There is a lake around Cerro Culiacan, Lake Uriria, that makes the mountain look very much like an island when photographed photographed from the water, and is similar to the illustration at right. In 1887, Mexican anthropologist Alfredo Chavero claimed that Aztlán was located on the Pacific coast in the state of Nayarit. While this was disputed by contemporary scholars, it achieved some popular acceptance. Eduardo Matos Moctezuma presumes Aztlán to be somewhere in the modern-day states of Guanajuato, Jalisco, and Michoacán. Indeed, scholars are all consistent in naming the measures of 150 leagues from Tenochtitlan that were documented by the Spanish scribes taking notes from conquered Mexico as the distance to the place of origin, coinciding in all ways at Chico-Motoc, Cerro del Culiacan, which is indeed a humped mountain when seen from the south face. Etymology. The meaning of the name Aztlán is uncertain. One suggested meaning is place of herons, or place of egrets, the explanation given in the Chronica Mexica-Tenochtitlan, but this is not possible under Nahuatl morphology. Place of egrets would be Aztlán. Other proposed derivations include place of whiteness, and at the place in the vicinity of tools, sharing the Arizona element of words such as Tepanotztli, drum. Aztlán is the Spanish language spelling and pronunciation of Nahuatl Aztlán. The spelling Aztlán and its matching last syllable stress cannot be Nahuatl, which always stresses words on the second to last syllable. The accent mark on the second A added in Spanish marks stress shift, typical of several Nahuatl words when loaned into Mexican Spanish, used by the Chicano movement. The concept of Aztlán as the place of origin of the pre-Columbian Mexican civilization has become a symbol for various Mexican nationalist and indigenous movements. The name Aztlán was first taken up by a group of Chicano independence activists led by Oscar Zeta Acosta during the Chicano movement of the 1960s and 1970s. They used the name Aztlán to refer to the lands of northern Mexico that were annexed by the United States as a result of the Mexican-American War. Aztlán became a symbol for mestizo activists who believe they have a legal and primordial right to the land. In order to exercise this right, some members of the Chicano movement proposed that a new nation be created, a República del Norte. Aztlán is also the name of the Chicano Studies journal published out of the UCLA Chicano Studies Research Center. Movements that advocate Aztlán are Raza Unida, Brown Berets, Mega Nation of Aztlán, Plan Espiritual de Aztlán, Marx Engels Lenin Institute, disbanded in 1991, which demanded self-determination for indigenous nations of all countries, as well as the immediate granting of self-determination of internally colonized nations of the U.S. up to and including secession. Freedom Road Socialist Organization, which calls for self-determination for the Chicano nation in Aztlán up to and including the right to secession. Charles Truxillo, a prominent advocate of Aztlán, was Professor Charles Truxillo, formerly of the University of New Mexico, who envisioned a sovereign Hispanic nation called the República del Norte that would encompass the northern Mexico, Baja California, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas and southern Colorado. Truxillo stated that he did not like the terms Hispanic or Latino, saying that they are racist, stating that American society is meant to conquer and divide, and preferred Norteño or Indio-Hispano. Truxillo, who taught at UNM's Chicano Studies program on a yearly contract, stated in an interview that native-born American Hispanics feel like strangers in their own land. We remain subordinated. We have a negative image of our own culture created by the media. Self-loathing is a terrible form of oppression. The long history of oppression and subordination has to end, and that along both sides of the U.S. Mexico border there is a growing fusion, a reviving of connections. Southwest Chicanos and Norteno Mexicanos are becoming one people again. Truxillo stated that Hispanics who have achieved positions of power or otherwise are enjoying the benefits of assimilation are most likely to oppose a new nation, explaining that there will be the negative reaction, the tortured response of someone who thinks, "Give me a break. I just want to go to Walmart," but the idea will seep into their consciousness and cause an internal crisis, a pain of conscience, an internal dialogue as they ask themselves, "Who am I in this system?" Truxillo believed that the República del Norte would be brought into existence by any means necessary, but that it was unlikely to be formed by civil war but rather by the electoral pressure of the future majority Hispanic population in the region. Truxillo added that he believed it was his job to help develop a cadre of intellectuals to think about how this new state can become a reality. In 2007, the UNM reportedly decided to stop renewing Truxillo's yearly contract. Truxillo claimed that his firing was due to his radical beliefs, arguing that few are in favor of a Chicano professor advocating a Chicano nation-state. In popular culture, in fiction, Aztlan has been used as the name of speculative fictional future states that emerge in the southwest U.S. or Mexico after the central U.S. government suffers collapse, a major setback. Examples appear in such works as the novels Rudolfo Anaya, Heart of Aztlan, Warday, by Whitley Strieber and James Kunetka, The Peace War, by Verna Vinge, The House of the Scorpion, by Nancy Farmer, and World War Z, by Max Brooks, as well as the role-playing game Shadowrun, in which the Mexican government was usurped by the Aztechnology Corporation. In Gary Jennings' novel Aztec, the protagonist resides in Aztlan for a while, later facilitating contact between Aztlan and the Aztec Triple Alliance just before Hernán Cortés' arrival. In Michael Flynn's alternate history story, The Forest of Time, Colorado is part of a nation-state called Nuevo Aztlan. Thomas Pynchon refers to Aztlan as the mythic ancestral home of the Mexican people in his novel Against the Day. Charles de Lint, in his novel The Painted Boy, refers to the ancestral spirit world as Aztlan. Larry Niven and Jerry Pournelle set much of the fantasy novel Burning Tower in Aztlan. Graham Hancock used Aztlan as a setting in his 2013 fictional novel War God, Night of the Witch. Alderico used the Aztlan Protocol as the title for his novel depicting a war between the United States and China and the subsequent peace treaty. In music, the Colombian heavy metal band Kraken mentions the old Aztlan as the place where the Aztec governors reside in the song Mexica. From its albums Kraken IV, Peel the Cobra and Kraken Philharmonico, Mexican-American rock band Los Lobos released an album titled Good Morning Aztlan in 2002. Los Angeles-based band Ozomatli penned a standout song on 2004's street signs in solidarity with the Chicano movement called Santiago, alluding to Uncle Sam as Santiago de Aztlan. On his 1994 album Graciasland, Mexican-American rock and roll artist Elve recorded Aztlan, a version of Paul Simon's Graceland, with lyrics such as, "For reasons I have explained, I'm not a part of Spain, I'm part of Aztlan." Mexican-American extreme metal band Brujeria recorded the song California Uber Aztlan, a cover version of the Dead Kennedys song California Uber Alice with Spanish lyrics, while California Uber Alice criticized Governor of California Jerry Brown. California Uber Aztlan talks about Governor of California Pete Wilson and the Chicano movement. Bibliography.